The woman stood at the edge of the old farmhouse driveway, dressed in a white suit that looked completely out of place in the quiet countryside. Her eyes were lowered, her hands trembling slightly. Across from her stood a tired single father holding his young daughter close to his chest. Then she spoke words that stopped him cold. "My father has died," she said softly. "But I came to pay his debt." The man stared at her in confusion. He had never met this woman before. He had no idea who her father was. Yet the tears in her eyes told him this was not a mistake. What happened next would change both of their lives forever. Before we begin, if stories about kindness, hope, and the goodness hidden in everyday people touch your heart, please subscribe to Heart Kindness Tales, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories to life. The morning had started like every other morning for Daniel Parker. As a single father, life was never easy. Ever since his wife passed away 5 years earlier, he had been raising his daughter Lily alone. Between working long hours as a mechanic and caring for his little girl, every day felt like a struggle. Money was always tight. The old farmhouse they lived in had belonged to Daniel's parents. The roof leaked when it rained. The porch creaked with every step. But it was home. Most evenings, Daniel sat on the porch with Lily and watched the sunset. They didn't have much, but they had each other. That was enough. On this particular afternoon, Daniel had just returned home from work when a black luxury car pulled into his driveway. The vehicle looked like it belonged in a city, not in their small rural town. Lily peeked through the window. "Daddy, someone rich is here," she whispered. Daniel smiled. "Let's see what they want." The woman stepped out of the car. She appeared to be in her late 30s, confident yet strangely nervous. When she walked toward him, Daniel noticed her eyes were red as if she had been crying. "Can I help you?" he asked. The woman took a deep breath. "My name is Victoria Bennett." Daniel nodded politely. "Nice to meet you." She looked around the property before speaking again. 22 years ago, my father came here." Daniel frowned. "My father?" "No," Victoria said. "My father." She swallowed hard. At the time, he was a desperate man. He had lost his job. He had nowhere to go. He was hungry and nearly homeless. Daniel listened carefully. "My father told me a story many times before he died," she continued. "He said there was one person who treated him with kindness when everyone else turned him away." Daniel suddenly remembered. A memory surfaced from years ago. A rainy evening. A stranger knocking on the door. A frightened man asking for help. Back then, Daniel's own father had been alive. The stranger had no money, no place to stay, and no food. Most people would have closed the door. But Daniel's father hadn't. He invited the man inside. Fed him dinner. Gave him clean clothes. Let him sleep in the spare room. And before the stranger left the next morning, Daniel's father handed him $200. It wasn't much, but for a struggling family, it had been a sacrifice. Daniel slowly nodded. "I remember him." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. "That man was my father." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The wind rustled through the trees. Birds chirped in the distance. Then Victoria smiled through her tears. "My father never forgot your family's kindness." She paused. "He told me that your father's compassion saved his life." Daniel felt a lump form in his throat. Victoria continued. "A few months after that night, he found work. Years later, he started a small business. That business grew into a company." She glanced toward the luxury car. "The company eventually became worth millions." Daniel blinked. He could hardly believe what he was hearing. "My father passed away 3 months ago," Victoria said quietly. "Before he died, he made me promise something." She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "He told me there was a debt he never repaid." Daniel looked confused. "Debt?" Victoria nodded. "He said kindness creates a debt that money can never fully repay. But he wanted to try." She handed him the envelope. Inside was a check. Daniel nearly dropped it. The amount was enough to pay off every bill he had. Enough to repair the house. Enough to send Lily to college one day. His hands shook. "Victoria. I can't accept this." "Yes, you can," she said gently. "No, really. My father didn't help your father for money." "I know." "Then why?" Victoria smiled. "Because this isn't payment." Daniel looked at her. "This is gratitude." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "My father spent the rest of his life believing he owed everything to the family who opened their door when nobody else would." Daniel looked down at the check again. He thought about his late father. A simple man with rough hands and a generous heart. A man who never expected anything in return. Victoria took another step forward. "There's something else." She pointed toward Lily, who was watching quietly from the porch. "My father always said kindness should continue moving forward." Daniel listened carefully. "So I'd like to start a scholarship in your father's name. It will help children from struggling families pursue their dreams." Daniel was speechless. The little act of kindness from decades ago had grown into something far bigger than anyone could have imagined. A single meal. A warm bed. A helping hand. Now it would change countless lives. Lily suddenly ran down the porch steps. She wrapped her arms around Victoria. The unexpected hug caught everyone by surprise. "Thank you," Lily whispered. Victoria hugged her back and smiled. "No," she said softly. "Thank your grandfather." As the sun began to set, the three stood together in the golden light. Different backgrounds. Different lives. Connected by one simple act of kindness. That evening, after Victoria left, Daniel sat on the porch with Lily. They watched the sky turn orange and pink. "Daddy," Lily asked, "do you think Grandpa knew this would happen?" Daniel smiled. "No, sweetheart." "Then why did he help that man?" Daniel looked toward the horizon. "Because that's who he was." Lily thought about that for a moment. Then she smiled. "I want to be like Grandpa." Daniel wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "Me too." And in that moment, he realized something beautiful. Kindness is never really lost. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes decades. But every act of compassion leaves a mark on someone's life. A small gesture can become someone's turning point. A meal can become hope. A helping hand can become a future. And a single moment of kindness can echo across generations. So if you ever wonder whether your kindness matters, remember this story. You may never see the results. You may never hear the thank you. But somewhere, someday, the good you put into the world may return in ways you could never imagine. And that is the true power of kindness. Until next time, keep your heart open, keep spreading compassion, and remember that even the smallest act of kindness can change a life forever. Victoria's visit became the talk of the town. People who had known Daniel for years couldn't believe what had happened. Some called it a miracle. Others called it fate. But Daniel saw it differently. To him, it was simply proof that his father's kindness had never disappeared. A few months passed, and life slowly settled into a new rhythm. The farmhouse was repaired. The leaking roof was replaced. The broken porch was rebuilt. For the first time in years, Daniel didn't have to worry about unpaid bills piling up on the kitchen table. Yet something unexpected happened. The money solved many problems, but it didn't change who Daniel was. He still woke up before sunrise. He still worked at the repair shop. He still spent evenings helping Lily with her homework. And every night before bed, he thought about Victoria's father. A stranger who had carried gratitude in his heart for more than 2 decades. One rainy afternoon, Daniel received a phone call. It was Victoria. "Daniel, I need your help." Her voice sounded different. Tired. Worried. "What's wrong?" Daniel asked. Victoria hesitated. "Our company is in trouble." Daniel was surprised. The company was worth millions. How could it be struggling? Victoria explained that after her father's death, several investors had begun pulling their money out. Rumors were spreading. Employees were worried. For the first time in years, the future of the company seemed uncertain. "I don't know who to trust anymore," Victoria admitted. Daniel listened quietly. He wasn't a business expert. He didn't know anything about corporate meetings or investment strategies. But he knew something about people. A few days later, Victoria invited him to visit the company's headquarters. The building towered over the city skyline. Daniel felt completely out of place. Expensive suits hurried through shiny hallways. Executives carried tablets and laptops. Everyone seemed busy. Everyone except Victoria. She sat alone in a large conference room staring out the window. For a moment, Daniel didn't see a powerful CEO. He saw a daughter who missed her father. "Can I tell you something?" Daniel asked. Victoria nodded. "My father used to say that when life gets difficult, people show you who they really are." Victoria looked at him carefully. "What do you mean?" "Stop listening to those who only care about money." She remained silent. "Start paying attention to the people who stay when things get hard." His words reminded her of something her father often said. That same week, Victoria made a decision. Instead of focusing only on investors, she met directly with employees. She listened to their concerns. She visited departments she had never visited before. She learned the names of workers who had spent years helping build the company. Something remarkable happened. Employees who had felt ignored suddenly became motivated. Teams started working together. Ideas flowed. Morale improved. Within months, the company began recovering. One evening, Victoria visited Daniel again. This time she wasn't wearing a business suit. She wore jeans and a simple sweater. The two sat on the farmhouse porch while Lily played nearby. "You were right," Victoria said. Daniel smiled. "About what?" "My father always believed that kindness was good business." Daniel laughed. "Most people wouldn't say that." "Maybe they should." Victoria looked toward the sunset. When employees felt valued, they worked harder than ever. She shook her head. "My father understood something I didn't." "What was that?" "People never forget how you make them feel." Daniel nodded. His father had known that too. Months turned into a year. The scholarship program grew rapidly. Dozens of students received help. Then hundreds. Every recipient learned the story of a farmer who opened his door to a stranger during a storm. One day, a letter arrived at Daniel's house. It came from a young woman named Sarah. She was the first student to graduate college through the scholarship. The letter brought tears to Daniel's eyes. "Because of your father's kindness," she wrote, "I became the first person in my family to earn a degree. I now work as a nurse, and I help people every day. Your father's kindness reached me even though we never met." Daniel folded the letter carefully. For a long moment, he simply sat in silence. His father had been gone for years. Yet his influence continued changing lives. Later that evening, Lily found him sitting on the porch. "Another scholarship letter?" she asked. Daniel smiled. "Yes. Lily sat beside him. You know, Grandpa is becoming famous. Daniel laughed. Maybe. No, Lily said seriously. People keep talking about him. Daniel looked at his daughter. What do you think Grandpa would say about that? Lily thought for a moment. Then she grinned. He'd probably tell everyone to stop talking and go help somebody. Daniel burst out laughing. That sounds exactly like him. Years later, when Lily became an adult, she chose a career helping children in need. Whenever someone asked why, she always told them the same story. She told them about her grandfather. She told them about a stranger on a rainy night. She told them about a daughter who traveled across the country to repay a kindness. And she told them one lesson she had learned from both families. Kindness is like a seed. You plant it without knowing what will happen. You may never see it grow. You may never sit beneath its shade. But one day, somewhere, someone will benefit from the tree you planted. And that is exactly what happened with one small act of compassion on a stormy night. A simple meal became a successful company. A helping hand became a scholarship fund. A stranger became family. And a single act of kindness continued touching lives long after everyone thought the story had ended. Because the truth is, kindness never really ends. It simply keeps finding new hearts to live in.